Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
What up, y'all? This is Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. A lot of people have been coming to me on my page asking for me to speak on this Tulsa real estate project. I just wanted to come to you and give you my opinion. So we start off with an understanding about wealth. And, for those people that haven't been to my channel, I do this thing. I do this thing at a high level, and it's kind of hard to talk about all this, fantastical talk when you know the numbers. When you know the reality of black wealth, black people, understand that 2.6% of the wealth is held by black hands, 90% is held by white hands. Understand that 50% of our race is worth less than $1 combined. Understand that maybe 10,000 to 15,000 black families make more than $1 million a year. Understand that only 380,000 black families are worth more than $1 million according to the most recent Federal Reserve data, and that came from me and Matt Brunig's work. Understand that I just did a report with Professor William Darity, Professor Dark Hamilton, some of the best economists in the whole nation on black wealth, and I just had an article in Fortune magazine covering that. Understand that I interviewed Thomas Shapiro, author of Black Wealth, White Wealth, and creator of the term racial wealth gap. Understand that I've talked to Byron Allen for almost 100 hours. This is the man who bought the Weather Channel for $300 million. And I also you can check out a 1-hour interview where we talk about what we call economic genocide of black America. You got to understand all of that before you even get to this video. Because what we're dealing with this is a bunch of people posing like this is a music video instead of giving you financial advisor data. I don't understand the whole setup. I don't understand why the pictures got to look like you're promoting a party. I don't understand the whole idea of making it a hype thing instead of an actual data thing. I don't understand the reality of how they're selling it to you rather than giving it to you in real numbers. But I do understand if you look at the information, because it don't really add up. So when I look at this thing, I have to start off with what the SEC auditors found. The accompanying financial statements have been prepared, assuming that the company will continue as a going concern. As described in Note 2, the financial statements, the company has not yet commenced planned principal operation and has not generated revenues or profits since inception. These factors, among others, raise substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue as a going concern. Management's plan in regard to these matters are also described in Note 2. The financial statements do not include any adjustments that might result from the outcome of this uncertainty. Our opinion is not modified with respect to this matter. So for me, for African Americans, we're the middle black family in this country without depreciating assets worth $1,500 to $1,700. Where black folks largely need their money to get by and are expecting a return. I have to say, I don't understand the investment in this. I don't understand the presentation of it. I don't understand any of it. And when I look at this thing, I look at Boyce Watkins pushing it on Instagram with the different posts, and it's just like, why y'all selling people? Why is it always about the hype? And I come back and I start breaking this thing down. The Tulsa Real Estate Fund claims to be the first 100% black-owned SEC-regulated Tier 2 investing crowd fund. You start looking at how they expect to break down the profits. It's like 50% to the Jay Morrison and his crew, and then 50% to the investors. The investors taking all the risk. I mean, when you look before the IPO, the company only had $0 in total liability of $15,000 from the actual accounting. Y'all watch Shark Tank. What's your skin in the game? They talking like it's $2 to $3, $5, $8 million of personal money in it already. So y'all taking 50% of the profit, and y'all didn't put up no skin. And then at the same time, I can't pull my money out anytime I want, because as I understand it, you have to leave it in there a year. I'm not talking as a financial advisor. I'm just talking as a general layman that's saying to you that I know that black folks don't have the wealth to lose no money. And for me, I look at what the general reality of the Jobs Act did, and it created this avenue, and I just hope everybody does their research. Here we have a company that's headed by Jay Morrison and Ernestine Johnson, and they marketed themselves as this young black power couple. Jay Morrison describes himself as a CEO, fund manager, private lender, coach, author, speaker, community organizer, and then Ernestine describes herself as an author and an actress. I just want to know what your background is, though. What business school? What money have you raised? How did you turn that money into profits for the person that invested? What is your history? I'm getting sketchy things coming up from people. I'm not trying to say that whether it's true or not about lawsuits and the like, and people should research that. People should research the people that they're investing, they're giving their money to invest, especially when there's not a heavy background, especially when the SEC is saying what it says. You know, I just want to be clear, because the whole thing was built around them buying this town. Now, I don't even use the word town. When was the last time you heard the word town used? It's so much ignorance. They're not buying a town. As I understand it, when you look, the power couple aren't buying a town. They talking about a temple project, and it's a temple hotel project. The couple on the Instagram post said they want to potentially purchase 60 acres of a 100-acre town. I mean, we gotta look. Everybody asked me for solutions as if that we're just really close. This is the problem I told Thomas Shapiro about calling this the racial wealth gap. It creates a presumption that it's just a gap. This is not a gap, and he agreed with it. This is whiteness and blackness. We're not 60 acres away from closing the racial wealth difference between whites and blacks. The reality is that the gap between whites and blacks is the ownership of everything versus the ownership of nothing. That's this country. No Tulsa project built around hyping the travesty and the atrociousness that happened with Tulsa back in the day is going to fix that. The only thing that fixed that is transformative government. We've seen it with the New Deal. We've seen it with affirmative action. This here is risk. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't look to black people to invest in. But I'm saying to you, for me, I don't want to see them selling me like they on an R&B album. I don't want to see the promotions where the girls are standing upstairs in front of a mansion. All these men are standing, looking around. This is not music anymore. This is not about selling imagery. This is about selling facts and numbers. And the facts and numbers are not in your favor. Understand what I'm saying. Almost all of our wealth is in the hands of boomers, in their real estate and their pensions. The average working age black family does not have wealth, and they will not get wealth by giving away wealth. I come to you on this Sunday just to talk briefly, and some of the things that were in the SEC report I just want to share. This comes from the company as I understand it, meaning the Tulsa company. First thing is, we have broad authority to incur debt and high debt levels that could hinder our ability to make distributions and decrease the value of our investors' investment. This is in the SEC report. I'll put it into the actual intro so you can press the link and read the whole report yourself. I just want you to be informed. Let's look past all the pictures with the glasses on and the pictures in front of the mansions and all of the articles that they've had put out about power couples, and look to the actual language. And this is from them themselves. Our policies do not limit us from incurring debt until our total liabilities would be at 85% of the value of the assets of the company. We intend to borrow as much as 85% of the value of our properties. We do not currently own any properties. High debt levels would cause us to incur higher interest charges and higher debt service payments, and may also be accompanied by restrictive covenants. These factors could limit the amount of cash we have available to distribute and could result in a decline of the value of our investors' investments. This statement is saying everything I'm saying. That we're going to go out of leverage, that we might not have your money to give back to you. I don't think that we understand that the way this thing is set up, they're telling us the reality of their situation. We just got to read the information and just be clear. We can't look at this thing with the hopes and the aspirations of what black folks are. We got to look at this thing from the reality of it. And that's all I do is reality. Let's continue on. We may depend on tenants for some of our revenue, and therefore our revenue may depend on the success and economic viability of our tenants. We will be highly dependent on income from either tenants. Our financial results will depend in part on leasing space in the properties or the full properties we acquire to tenants on economically favorable terms. In the event of a tenant default prior to stabilization, we may experience delays in enforcing our rights as landlord and may incur substantial costs in protecting our investment and reletting our property. This is all just saying this thing might not work. And I don't know how many black families got it in them to deal with this might not work. Look, I'm telling you today, the most consequential reality behind your life is the racial wealth gap. The racial wealth gap is not going to be closed with financial panaceas. I advise everybody to read the 10 myths that we wrote in our report. Understand that no answer that claims to be a magic bullet will fix the racial wealth realities of black America. Understand what this government owes you. Understand that your family built this place. And understand when you're looking at something that's screaming to you, maybe this ain't a good investment. Let me continue on. We may not make a profit if we sell a property. This is their language in the SEC report. You can click the link. The prices that we can obtain when we determine to sell a property will depend on many factors that are presently unknown, including the operating history, tax treatment of real estate investments, demographic trends. There's a risk that we will not realize any significant appreciation on our investment in a property. Accordingly, your ability to recover all or any portion of your investment under such circumstances will depend on the amount of funds so realized and claimed to be satisfied therefrom. I'm just coming to you today, just having a brief discussion that black folks don't got time for maybe you might have my money at the end. We need secure, stable investments from stable people. I advise you to look into the J. Morrison guy. I advise you to read the whole SEC report before doing any investing. I advise you to really understand what it means when a company only had 15,000 when they started and they're asking you for millions.
Tone Talks brings to you the difference between black wealth and white wealth explained in less than 2 minutes. In America, we think that we understand race, wealth, and how the two intertwine. We believe in a sharing of wealth among the races that largely does not exist. The truth is, by the data, there are really hardly any blacks that are millionaires in the United States, and whites largely own almost all of the personal wealth in the country. According to demos.org, white America owns 90% of the national wealth, with the top 50% of white families holding 88% of all of America's personal wealth in their bank accounts. Despite having billionaire Oprah Winfrey, of the 14 million black families, less than a few 100,000 of these households are worth more than $1 million, and that number is shrinking. While at the same time, over 8.5 million white families are worth more than $1 million. Adding to this, almost all of the 540 American billionaires are white as well. In fact, according to a report by Credit Suisse, to be in the top 5% of black families, you only need to be worth $356,000, including your house. All while just the top few hundred white American families are worth more than all of black America combined. Subscribe to learn more at tonetalks.org.